Hi, folks. Welcome back to the C Morning Show. We're at the halfway point of our program, leading us right into our first discussion of the day. Child labor and exploitation here in Indonesia has been a complex issue that continues to persist to this day.
That's right, Paul. And most recently, the police in Balikpapan, East Kalimantan, has been arrested a woman over suspicions that she is indeed exploiting her children.
The suspect, named with an initial M, is facing charges related to child exploitation, which could land her 10 years in prison.
Now, authorities have accused her of having her children aged 8 and 4 peddling tissues for months and bringing her infant son when begging on the streets. She's also allegedly abusive towards her children.
Obviously a heartbreaking story, but definitely not the only one that exists here in Indonesia. And joining us this morning to offer her insights as to why child labor still remains a problem and what can be done about it is Save the Children Indonesia Head of Child Rights, Ratna Yunita. Good morning, Ratna. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us here this morning.
Thank you.
This was just one example, but how bad is a child labor problem right now in Indonesia? I mean, this is just one incident, but we sometimes still see this happening all the time when we're in traffic. There's either a woman and perhaps bringing a child. I've even heard that sometimes the children may not even be their children. So how big is this problem actually?
Yeah, when we talk about how big or how small, it really depends on what data that we have.
Okay.
So according to the Statistical Bureau in Indonesia, since 2019, the percentage of child labor in Indonesia is around 7%. And then it going down a year later, but during the pandemic, it increased a lot.
Really?
It's up to 9%.
People are just looking for ways to get money,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So means that there are many causes that can put children into labor. For example, like the economic situation, vulnerability to economic shock, like during the pandemic, and then also the awareness or level of understanding of the parents itself. For example, how they know about the impact of child labor, what are actually the definition of child labor. They perhaps do not know because they might think that their children will just help us as parents in order to have more income, something like that.
Yeah, I guess, and that's from a parent perspective. It's like, hey, everyone has to pitch in and do your part.
Exactly.
Yes, indeed.
And maybe not just from the parents' perspective that's not aware of what they're doing. I think for us as well, sometimes we don't really know to an extent what child labor is. Maybe it's only what we see at a surface level. You know, we see children begging on the streets and we think that itself is already just child labor, but there's so much more to it. From your end, what are the worst forms of child labor that you've come across?
Yeah, so actually the government of Indonesia already enacted the ILO Convention regarding the worst form of child labor, and that's also translated into the national regulation. So means that the government already put effort on it, but then how to make people understand about these laws and regulation, right? And it mentioned about, for example, like slavery, trafficking, put children in sexual exploitation, including child labor. It is also the worst form of labor. And in case of Indonesia, the harmful practices, for example, like put children in the works that using very heavy burden, chemical use, that also put children in a harmful situation that it's actually defined by the ILO Convention and also the national regulation. So, but then the issue is about how people understand about all these rules and regulations. So means that awareness raising is important. So then people know, understand what the definition, what type of child labor, then how we're gonna deal with it, what are the causes and impact to the children's life, not only in a short period of time, but in the full long run for their development, including their not only physical, but also mental development. So that's, yeah, our works.
Well, Ratna, I'm ashamed to say that I'm not even really too
Yeah.
clear as to what regulations are outlining children's protection. Like, what are the laws in place? But without getting into too much detail, could you give us an idea as to what are the laws that are in place right now to protect children from child labor? I mean, this woman that we gave as an example is
Yeah.
facing up to 10 years in prison. Can you give us a rough outline as to what laws are in place and is it enough?
Yeah, actually, what the law said, for example, like for the work type that really put children in a harmful situation, like what I mentioned earlier.
High-risk labor. Things
Yes,
like
and then
that.
also drugs or yeah, sexual exploitation, and then also working in the plantation that are using chemicals,
Right.
having heavy burdens. So those kind of works that need to be avoided, and then we can consider it as child labor if we found children doing those kind of
Right.
things. But there's another definition that by age, for example.
Okay.
So all the harmful works cannot be done or for those who are under 18.
Okay.
So under 18 cannot do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you found the person that below 18 that were doing those kind of works, so we can consider it as child labor.
Okay, so the law, obviously the child here is the victim of the child labor. So who would be held most responsible? Would it the person hiring children to do this sort of labor, or is it the parents that are supposed to be responsible for the children, preventing them to enter these situations?
Yeah, yeah. Actually, it's the responsibility of all of us,
Yeah.
right? The government have the responsibility to ensure that the laws and regulation being enforced,
Okay.
not only to the parents or the community, but also to the business actors.
Got it.
They have to know
I
also.
see.
And then for the communities and the families, they have to know what actually the impact of child labor. How if they send their children to work,
Yeah.
what will be the impact on the child development in the long run of their lives. And then also, us as the NGO, we can also take a role in terms of educating, supporting the government in terms of filling the gap, for example. We can also do training for the government official in terms of how to do remediation process for those children already in the child labor situation, and how we're going to withdraw them
Right.
and get back to school, because most of them left school because they know already how to earn money,
Yeah.
and
They
then
don't think they
Why
need
do
it.
we need to go back to school?
So a lot of times, the unfortunate thing is those that are in child labor actually not feeling like they're doing anything wrong. In fact, they think I'm
Yeah.
contributing for the family, I'm doing my part, and unfortunately
Yeah.
they're putting themselves at risk.
Sure. Now, but Ratna, are there factors that sort of contribute to how in some cities maybe there's a higher percentage of child labor? For example, maybe in the capital city, there would be a higher percentage of child labor in comparison to a rural area. Is there any statistics that says that?
Yeah, so far the statistics said that the rural area that having higher percentage.
Higher in rural
yeah.
areas. Wow.
Yeah,
I would have
so,
thought differently. Interesting.
and most of them are boys
Right.
in the rural area that are more vulnerable to child labor. But actually, when we talk about data, there's still a limitation
Yeah.
anyway, right? Because all data gathered based on cases that being reported.
And many are not. Right?
So then, if there's no cases being reported, doesn't mean there's no
Not
child
happening.
labor.
Correct. You're right.
We need to go further and go deeper into to see what is actually happening in the society. So means that reaching out the furthest, reaching out the most vulnerable, it is the huge task, but we need to do it.
Right.
Right.
Otherwise, statistic is just statistic,
Just
but
numbers.
yeah, just numbers. But then how those who are invisible
Yeah.
actually in the national statistic, and they are still vulnerable, that we need to help them in terms of how to make sure that they can get a chance also to get their full potentials.
Right.
And with a country of over 200 million residents, where do we rank around the world, or specifically perhaps in Southeast Asia, because child labor does exist in other countries around the region as well? Where does Indonesia rank in regards to child labor plus its protection laws?
There's no specific data on that, unfortunately, because of different definition of child labor
Right.
Okay.
in different
Good point.
countries.
Fair.
For example, like the legal age to work in Indonesia will be different from other countries.
All right.
So that's how they cannot, what is it?
Can't compare, yeah.
apple
Yeah.
to apple, something like that.
Right.
But we know exactly what's happening in Indonesia. That's due to pandemic, it's becoming higher. And then how we're gonna solve this? And most of the child labor are in the agricultural sector.
Oh,
That's
is
the
that right?
higher one. Yes, and then the second one is the service, and then the industry sector.
Oh, wow, agriculture. So farming then. A lot
Yes,
of these kids
why-
are-
including forestry and also fishery.
That's
that's
why
the highest.
there's a higher percentage in rural areas because
Yes,
of
because of that.
agriculture.
Correct.
Very interesting.
Okay, so let's talk about combating this issue then. You and your organization are doing hard work in order to prevent this from happening. What sort of programs or collaborations are you working on in order to kind of bring those numbers down, if you will, child labor?
So since 2018, Save the Children work in the Sulawesi area in order to reduce and to prevent the child labor prevalence. So for example, we did what we call it as a child labor monitoring and remediation system.
Right.
So first we do awareness raising. So we go to the community, for example, like during the Friday prayer, we talk about child labor there.
Okay.
So that's, we want to be close to the community. Awareness raising about what is child labor, what are the impact if they send the children to work. And then the second thing is we identify who are the children in the community that vulnerable to child labor.
Got it.
Or who are actually already in the child labor situation. And this need to be helped soon, to be helped soon by us, right? And with by the community. And then the third one, we provide support.
Okay.
For example, those who are already leave school, how we gonna bring them back to the school or to get their education at least.
Right.
Right, so then we deal with the local government, ensure that they will accept these children in school or in how to ensure that they will continue their education. And then the fourth one, what we do is following up.
Okay.
Ensure that it will be sustained, right?
Yeah.
Because if the children cannot be stay in one area for for many years, because we have to move to another area to help
Right.
other children in other area.
Right.
So means that the community and the local government will play a big role in order to ensure that what best effort that they've done can be continued for the long.
That they can finish what you already started. I'm going to ask you one question that I'm sure you face often when you visit these communities, which is financially. How are they going to offset what the child or children bring into the family financially if they stop working or they go back to school? And then there's actually added costs because perhaps they have to buy books and supplies. What are some of the solutions that could be offered as an alternative for those that are still in dire need of financial support?
Yes, indeed. So for dealing with child labor, it's not enough to strengthen the child protection system,
Right.
that's what we've done with the community local government. But we need also to ensure how they can get out of poverty.
Yeah.
So means that we work also how to find the alternative livelihoods for the farmers, for example. And then we also empower the women in the community, so then they have more power to have a say in decision-making processes,
Okay.
including like what kind of access to financial institution that they would like to have. And then also we train them about financial literacy. So they know how to do savings and yeah, so those kind of things that what we've done also in order to ensure that they have not only a child protection system and in the community, but the families also being helped by having alternative livelihoods.
Right.
And how is the, sorry, excuse me, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I have so many
Please.
questions. How have the families been, have they been receptive to your help as well? Like when you approach a family and tell them, you know, your children shouldn't be working, and perhaps you could have a dual income family. Perhaps mom and dad could work and support the family and let the kids go to school. How receptive are they to it? Do you meet a lot of resistance when it comes to these solutions?
At first they will say no,
Yeah.
I'm not put my children into child
Right.
labor.
Oh, in denial at
Yeah,
first.
denial.
Yeah, okay.
So because they think it's just helping
Normal,
us,
yeah.
Sure.
the parents,
Right.
The
in
mindset
their
first,
farm,
right?
and so means that they do not know it actually having bad impact to their children.
Right.
So that's the first thing. So it means that after some session with them, so they get more understanding about the child labor issue, and then actually no parents would like their child having what is it? We call it worse situation than
Of
their
course,
parents, right?
developmental
So
problems. Of course.
mental problems. So economically, or mental
Yeah.
and physical development, all parents want the best for their children.
Right.
So when we talk about the impact, so then the parents will think, okay, because for example, like I met with one farmer in Kalimantan area. At that time, they said that he said to me that I was also child labor. Yeah, at that time I do not know what is the impact. But now, at my age, when I met him, his age was 43 something.
Quite young still.
Yeah, but he already felt a lot of pain in his back.
Sore, right.
So he never considered it as the impact of child labor, those kind of things, because he carried a lot of heavy things during the works. So, and now, because of Save the Children, I know how it feels and what the impact of being child labor.
Right.
So I do not want to put my children into the same situation like
Yeah.
what I had. So this kind of thing that, we need time, we
to
need
educate.
patience, right?
Make them aware.
So then this parent, he started to gather other parents to share the knowledge and then the experience, and then at the end, the parents community finally can push the village government to create regulation.
Wow.
Yes, create the village regulation to prevent and to prohibit child labor practices in the village.
There you go. Good success story. I mean, we need more of those.
Yeah.
Sure. Step by step, but slowly but surely.
Yeah, every
Yeah.
parent wants the best for their kids.
Yeah,
Who doesn't,
for
right?
sure.
Yeah.
And just one more question for me before we go, Ratna. What can we do as a community, us, and I'm sure the folks at home are also wondering, to help put a stop to child labor? What can we do for our part?
Yeah. So I can say that the 3 Ps that we always say to all the people, that first is the prohibition, means that the law enforcement should be in place.
Okay.
So the laws, it will not bring impact at all if there's not enforcement, right? Because nowadays businesses also would like to be seen as a responsible business.
Of course.
Right.
So this part of how we can take all the business sectors also on board, how to reduce and to prevent child labor in Indonesia. The second thing is about prevention. For sure that just having, when you talk with your friends, just say that this is not acceptable.
Right.
Or this is not actually, we should stop this, right?
Voice your opinion, basically,
Yes.
right? Yes.
Anywhere, anytime.
True.
And then that's part of awareness raising. So we do the campaign, words of mouth, towards all the community. I think that would be helping us as well.
Right.
And then the third thing is about the protection, for sure. That's all the system that we build in the community with the government and so on.
Okay. And I have one sort of, it may be a bit controversial, but my friend told me this. He's like, I used to, if I had a street peddler, a mother with a baby, you know, your heart goes out to them, right? I was like, oh, my baby needs milk, so I would, you know, give them money. We were stopped at a red light. And my friend said, if you really want to help them, don't give them
Don't
money.
give
I'm like, why? It's like, because you're just enabling them to continue to do this.
Yeah.
That's
That
yeah.
way they'll continue exploiting the children. And ever since then, I never did again. And it still hurts to not do so, because if you see something visually immediately in front of your face, you want to
It's
help.
hard not
but then
to,
you're actually
yeah.
not helping. You're actually adding to the problem.
Yeah.
So perhaps that can be a tip out there. There are other ways
Sure.
to spread awareness and to put an end to this.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
How can we know about more about Save
Yeah.
the Children in Indonesia? Do you have a website or social media that you could share with us?
Yes, our website is savethechildren.id, so then you can go for that.
Okay.
And yeah, we have also the Instagram, Save the Children ID.
Save the Children
Stuff.
ID.
Thank you so much, Ratna, for
Thank you
coming
so much,
by.
Ratna.
Obviously, this is an ongoing
Yeah.
problem that we hope a solution will be discovered, obviously, thanks to your efforts as well.
Yes.
Sure.
Thank
Very
you.
insightful for us, and I'm sure the folks at home. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, guys, on that note, we'll be taking another short break, but don't go anywhere because we'll come back and have some updates from around the world. Stay with us on the C Morning Show.